Good evening, educators. I wanted to talk to you about blocks some more. So this is blocks part 2. If you hadn't seen the first video that I made about blocks, you might want to go find it and realize that this is the part 2, the more in-depth version of how valuable blocks can be. And they are so valuable. I have a few things to show you. This is going to be a pretty short video. I wanted to start out by letting you know about something that I completely forgot and left out of the first video that's a biggie, and that's symmetry. So probably you're modeling this if you're playing with your child, or if you have an opportunity to sit with your students. This comes up, and again, symmetry is a biggie. I wanted to also say that it's important to have some little people, literally little people. You don't have to have literal little people, but people and cars and whatever you can find, airplanes, boats, dinosaurs, and even the big cars. It won't matter, as long as they have a way to then play with their creation so they can take it to the next level. Here I've got a bridge because I wanted to show you something else. In all of my centers when I was teaching, I had books, whether it be the art center or the dramatic play or science or writing or whatever. Even the block center, I had books. And so I had a lot of nonfiction books. This is something about sort of a biography about a builder and how his day looks. But I also had several about bridges. And these have examples of different kinds of bridges. And no, they probably can't create these necessarily with this set of blocks, but they can try. And they can have that image in their mind when they're creating, and in their mind it might look like this or like this. So you're giving them ideas about how to create with blocks. And again, this is just bridges and different kinds, even land bridges and so on. I'm guessing you could probably find any of these books at your local library or bookstore. This is one of my favorites. Byron Barton, if you don't know, is amazing for young children because they're very basic, and the pictures are basic yet informative. And so there's not too many words. On a green hill, machine digs a hole, builder's hammer, and so on. And it goes through all the steps of building a house. And this, to some kids anyway, is fascinating. And it's just very basic, gets the job done for a nonfiction book about how houses are built. And then this they can use when they're using their blocks to create. And I also like to keep some books in there. Now these are harder to get your hands on, but I like to have some books in there about books that they can possibly read. Now this is probably more of a kinder or first grade book, but people build dams, so do beavers. People build towers, so do termites, and so on. And so it's got a pattern to it. So this is a book that they could read themselves while they're in the block center. Or if they're at home, obviously, they can do it how they want. This is another one that's kind of a lower level book. This building is famous. This building is round. This building is narrow, and so on. A basic book that might be read by the child themselves independently. And then, of course, anybody can read this one. It doesn't even have words. Pardon me, it does have a few words. It's got a letter at the beginning. But basically, this is a little duck that needs to create, and he has to do it quickly. And it just goes through the alphabet, and he builds each letter. And so this is just a nice book to add to your ABC book collection. And then like I said, I kept it in the block center so that they could then try to create these if they wanted to. And then there's other books, but anyway, books near the blocks are never a bad thing. I found this online. Let me say who it's from. EC Education 101. This kind of is basically what I was just showing you about books. It just gives them some ideas about some different bridges. These are actual bridges, so if that's important to you, you can show them that. And then they had this sheet where they could transfer knowledge. Now that's important to say, transferring knowledge. Putting your ideas on paper is a whole different skill. However, this is great, but you don't have to have it. That's a lot of ink to print out. Again, you can just have books and then some big construction paper and lots of utensils to create, so that you can then transfer your creation that's 3D onto paper. And this is a higher level skill. You probably won't see some, of course I did this, but you probably won't see anything like this until around first grade. And I don't really like to say when, because children are at different levels, but don't expect your 3, 4, 5-year-old to be able to do something like this. But what they can do is do what they're able to do, and something that they are proud of. And it might not look exactly like their creation, but they're practicing putting their ideas on paper. So again, blocks can take you to amazing places educationally, and I hope that you will utilize some of these ideas in your home or in your classroom. Goodbye, educators.